Good morning, gals. How are you?
Good morning. Great. How are you this morning?
Good. It is so good to see you both. I actually had the pleasure, of course, of seeing you in person not too long ago because we were all at the Atlanta market together. But I'll introduce everybody real fast and then we can get rolling. So if anyone is joining us for the first time, I'm Melissa McLeod. I'm here at the Wool and the Floss in Grosse Pointe, Michigan. And you have found the Pointing It Out podcast, and myself, along with my partner in crime, Megan Holmes at the Needlepoint Clubhouse in St. Louis, put on this dog and pony show once every couple weeks to talk all things needlepoint and to meet with some fabulous people. And today, if anyone has watched The Wool and the Floss for any length of time, you know that we're with two of my favorite people, one of my most favorite designers. Every week in my unboxing, there's almost always a Colors of Praise canvas. So I'm super excited to introduce both of you. So Marie Barber is our master artist and owner, I presume, right?
Right.
And then Malin Barber, her beautiful daughter, is business manager. Is that what we would call you?
Right. Definitely.
I should have probably asked those titles ahead of time, but I figured
It's
go out
fine.
on a limb. Us entrepreneurs don't really worry about titles too much. We're just who we are, right?
Right.
So I've had tons of requests to have both of you on the podcast. So I'm so excited that you're here. And Marie, since you're the master artist here, we're all dying to hear more about you and how you ended up here. Tell us where you are. Tell us about your family, your professional background, your educational background, how you ended up being a designer, any of that. Just let us know. Yeah.
All right. It's wonderful to be here. Thanks for the invite. I'm more of a background kind of person, as you know, but I love to be here. Thanks, Melissa. I was born and raised in Sweden, like most people you know, and I just wanted to draw and paint, even as a little kid. And even as a 6-year-old child for Christmas, if I didn't get a brand new white pad, drawing pad with new markers, I was so devastated. That's just what I wanted to get every Christmas. And I always wanted to be an artist, but being an artist and making a living can be kind of difficult too. But as life kind of came about, I wanted to go to art school, and I actually wanted to go overseas. And I couldn't decide if I wanted to go to Australia or to America, and decided to come over here and went through different applications, different schools, ended up at Art Institute of Atlanta. I became a commercial artist, an illustrator, and I got a job at Hoffman Media, which is just Cross Stitch Magazine, and they saw my illustrations and said, here's a square pattern, layout, and start creating something with fruit. And so I did, and I turned that in, and I was hired as a cross stitch designer immediately, and did that for like 15 years, and got to do 7 books with Sterling in New York that was published via Chappelle in Ogden, Utah. And then I worked for Just Cross Stitch Magazine for years and years and loved it. I learned so much from them. And but then my contract ended 2009. And even though I was freelancing for them, I then could start the needlepoint that I fell in love with years prior, when somebody had handed me a ermine tapestry catalog with K facet, and I could so relate to all the colors and everything all about it. I'm like, that's me, I can do this, So of course I had to kind of create my own, and I just love what I do. And I was a portrait artist, and I did all the chart conversions for Pocahontas for Disney into cross stitch. And so I did a variety of things, and I was an illustrator for several publications like Victoria Magazine and Paula Deen Magazine. And, there's lots of avenues I could have gone down, but needlepoint is actually what I love, love, love to do. And as an artist, if somebody asked me, "Oh, if you could pick anything as an artist, what would you want to do?" And I would definitely say a needlepoint designer. So I'm so thankful that people love that what we do and what we come up with. And so
And I've always, it's so funny. Well, two things. I love that I feel like I've known you for a long time, but like just learned so much about you in the last 2 minutes. Because I've always known you have had an accent, and I've always wanted to ask you, but I'm always like afraid to ask people that. I'm like, does that come off as rude if you're like, well, you have an accent, because we all have accents to each other, right? I have a Midwestern accent. So I think that's so awesome. I never knew that you were Swedish. That's amazing. And the other thing that I'm surprised by is I think I started in this industry not maybe like 2011, and like I felt like you'd been around forever. Ever. And that means that you're like, the first time I walked into your booth was probably in either Phoenix or San Diego with TNNA. And your line looked huge to me then. And so you went fast. You went fast. That's amazing. And you know what else I wanted to point out? I have been away for about 12 days, came into the shop this morning. The gals that work for me do an amazing job, and they redid my walls. And do you guys see what's behind me?
I do. I definitely recognize that tiger.
And you think that I would have been like, hey, gals, I'm interviewing the Colors of Praise people. And nope, it just happened. So that's how much we love your design. So I just wanted to point that out too, because that's one of my favorites.
Great.
Yes. And where do you live right now, Marie?
30 miles outside of Birmingham, Alabama. It's in a rural community. We live on the water, and it's just very private out here. We love it. Our small little town has one traffic light.
Oh, love it. So very conducive to getting down to artistic thoughts with the water flowing by.
It is so nice. And I love, my second love is in my yard and garden. So Marlon's like, Mom, I know it's springtime, you want to plant, but you got to work a little bit. No, I love to be outside planting. We have kind of I have kind of created a botanical gardens in our yard. So we live on 2.5 acres. We got chickens in the backyard. We got 9 dogs on the property, 1 cat. So
sounds like a dream.
Yes. So,
and we're going to get to Mal in a second, I promise. But you have a fairly large family, because over the years when I've been at market, different people keep popping up. So tell us a little bit about that.
I met first when I was actually an exchange student when I was 16. And I met my husband then. He's 3 years older than me. He was already in college. And I ended up in Pell City, Alabama, which is 10 minutes away from here. So we started dating for 5 months until I had to get back home. It was a 10-month exchange program. So I had to go back home, and I finished upper secondary school. And then I kind of lived in Stockholm for a while, and then kind of came back. And so we hadn't really communicated a lot during the 2.5 years, but I came back, and when I went to art school anyway, so I sent him a card, and we kind of connected again after 2.5 years, because he had prior, when I left, when I was 17, he told his mom, he said, I'm going to marry her one day. So I come back 3 years later, and when he saw me, he's like, well, I'm not going to let you go this time. So after I graduated from college, we got married, and we've been married almost 33 years.
That's awesome.
So, and we got 4 kids. Marlon's our oldest, and then it's Peyton, then it's Daniel, and then it's Maggie. And we had 4 kids in 5 years.
Wow, that kept you busy.
We have a busy, active household. Don't tell anybody, but we don't lock our doors around here, and there's always people in and out. So
I love that. Well, good. So I know I first met Malin at a market, and I can't even remember how long ago, but she really was, sorry, Malin, if I hope I don't embarrass you. You were kind of like to me, the little girl who was along for the ride, but didn't necessarily really want to be there at first because, she had better things to do than help mom. But she was like, oh, I'm okay. I'll help her put up the room. I'll help her take down the room. But, that's kind of it. And now, wow, like you're just doing everything. It's amazing. So let's back up and tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and how you went from being that little girl who reluctantly helped mom to one who's kind of running all the front office stuff.
Well, okay. So way back in, I guess, the 2008, 2009 time period when mom started Colors of Praise, she could tell you it was definitely a sink or swim mentality during that time, because it was also during the recession, and starting a new company during the recession is always going to be extremely trying. And
trying to survive during a pandemic, right?
I'm sorry.
That it's kind of like trying to survive during a pandemic.
Yeah, something like that, for sure. Anyway, very, very similar. Just the uncertainty, right? Like you're going to be putting forth a lot of effort to keep something that you love afloat, and not knowing if it's going to take off or continue or whatever. But anyway, so around that time, it was all hands on deck. And so that meant us kids had to kind of step up, and whether that meant taking care of the house or helping mom put trunk shows together or get ready for her trade shows or different things like that, it required all hands, right? So I ended up helping mom with her TNNA shows, but it also allowed me the opportunity to get to travel and see things, because we come from at the time, it was definitely a lower income, definitely struggling. And so that was the only time that we really were allowed to travel and see things and explore. And so that part of it was so exciting. Of course, doing the TNNA shows was still work, but it was back where you pointed and ordered. So that wasn't as fun. But then ever since we started doing the cash and carry shows, it was like, ding, 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 this is it. I love this. Like, this is right up my alley. It made me feel like I got to set up my own shop, because, here I am working from home. I have my studio upstairs, or we were working from home in Alabama. And, you know what I mean? It wasn't the same, it's still the same. Like I have my, you order something, I'll pull canvases for you and get it out. But the cash and carry shows in Dallas and wherever they are throughout the year is so much fun to me. So to me, as soon as we started the cash and carry shows, I told mom, I was like, this is something I want to do. I love this. This is so much fun. It's such a creative industry. It's so off the beaten path than a lot of people go down job and career wise. And she was always like, you need to go to college and get your degree, so you at least have that just in case, or, I don't know. I don't know if we can do, whatever. And I was like, okay. But I always kind of just nagged on her a little bit, like, this is it, And anyway, so in 2018, I graduated from Jacksonville State University in Jacksonville, Alabama, with a dietetics degree. So I can cook and everything like that, know nutrition a little bit and everything. And, but I couldn't afford the internship afterwards, and it would have just been a whole nother ordeal. So I started working, and I became a title insurance rep for the for a small company in Birmingham, Alabama. And I traveled all over the state of Alabama. But believe it or not, title insurance was not something I was passionate about, And so I remember on and I was making decent money, especially not having a good income leading up to that point. But I was a little bit miserable, to say the least. I had a great boss, great, people I was working with, but just being on the road constantly for title insurance, it wore on me so bad. And so I called mom on one of my trips and I said, Mom, we have always talked about going into business together. At the time, I didn't have a boyfriend. I didn't have a mortgage, no kids, no nothing. And it was like, if we've ever wanted to grow the company, let's try. This is the time to try. And so of course, and so she said, well, it's going to require, I'm not going to be able to pay you very much. So it's going to be, you're going to have to take an L for a little while. And I was like, yeah, okay, that's fine. And honestly, I would do it over and over and over again, because it allowed us to grow closer as mother and daughter. Which we've always had a good relationship for the most part, except for those little awkward stages at 13 and, but, it's just been such a blessing. It's been so much fun. The ride has been worth it all the way. And like I said, I would do it over and over again. So this is absolutely what I feel like I should be doing. And I'm so thankful to get to work with my mom and I'm so thankful that there's people out there that love Colors of Praise enough to allow me to get to do this job with my mom. So, just very thankful for you guys and all the ones that support and love Colors of Praise like you do.
And how long was that ago was that transition from the amazing world of title insurance?
Oh gosh. Okay. No, 2018, I think in 2019. Yeah. In 2019, I started like kind of working for mom, just, like I put in my 2 weeks notice with title insurance, just kind of took a major pay cut, was at the house working from home and everything like that. And we were preparing for our first trade show as, mother and daughter, like officially me working for her, was going to be Orlando of 2020. Oh. Which, as you know, that was not even 2 weeks prior to the show, the pandemic hit, everything closed down, everything canceled. And me and mom, we had a huge new line that we wanted to show off. And we had tons of inventory, getting ready for the show, because once again, we were trying to grow the company. So we had splurged a lot on inventory to have. And so then it was like, okay, kind of that sink or swim mentality. What are we going to do to have this, go, and how are we going to spend this? So that was actually the first time I started my Instagram videos of promoting canvases that we have, because at first it was promoting the
both together.
Yeah. So at first it was promoting the new designs that we had, and then when we would get a shipment in from the painting service, I was like, okay, we got to pay for this shipment from the painting service, so we need to tell people what we have in stock right now, because people were realizing, oh my gosh, I might want a canvas, but I'm not going to be able to get it for now X amount of months instead of weeks. And so for me, it was like, okay, well, let me show people this instant gratification project. Like, this is what I have right now. If you want it, you can get it. Just reach out to your local needlepoint store to place the order. And they have just, they helped us so much during the pandemic stages where everything was closed down and everything became such an online presence. It allowed us to get things out to stores so that y'all could have inventory. It helped people get their projects so they could keep their sanity while being stuck at home. Yeah. It was just, again, it was just a total blessing, just kind of fell in our lap, and this is how we did it. But it was extremely helpful, and it totally has allowed me and mom to grow the company now to sustain 2 people, which is what the whole point of us starting to begin with was. But so now I this is my new home. Me and Will just bought this house in February, the end of February, and we're in Nashville, Tennessee. So I'm about 3.5 hours from Ragland, but so I'm going down this weekend to visit too. So, it's still a good distance to get to see one another, and we definitely make it work, even being in 2 different states. So we have a good system going on now.
Good. And I hope this is okay to mention, I think there was perhaps some big news about a month ago in your personal life too.
Yes. We haven't made a post about it yet. So whoever, I guess, is watching this podcast in the needlepoint world, me and Will did decide to get married a month ago. And so, yeah, because we were like, all right, we bought this house and everything like that. And of course we were already engaged, but I'm sure a lot of people are aware there is a lot going on overseas. And Will is a first lieutenant promote for the Army, and he's a Black Hawk helicopter pilot. So there was a very strong possibility that he was going to be called away to go and be stationed overseas to deal with the different tragedies going on over there. And so it was kind of like, let's just, it's going to happen anyway. Let's just go ahead and make sure that we're okay, and we're taking care of each other and everything like that. So, a World War II wedding maybe, but we just on a Tuesday went down to the courthouse, and
love it.
That was all she wrote. But it's been, what I mean? It's all good. We're extremely blessed and very fortunate to have one another and to have this house, and he is still here. He did not end up getting deployed, and that is an answer of prayer to me. So sorry to sound a little selfish, but
that's okay.
I want my husband here.
I don't blame you. That is a tough road that many people go down, but it doesn't mean you have to want it.
Right. Like, yeah, I know what he's been called up for. And so if and when he does have to go, because we have gone through a 9-month deployment, I feel like most people followed it on our Instagram. I kind of gave a little bit of updates, but it's very hard. But I mean, for the right person, there's you jump through many hoops and overcome a lot of things when it's for the right person. And so I'm very thankful that I have found my right person. And so whatever he needs from me, and whether that's holding down the fort or packing him a lunch when he goes to work, I'm here for it. So,
well, we thank him for his service, because we're all very fortunate to live the lives we do in this country. So
yes, thank you.
Yes. Okay. So on a lighter note, do either of you stitch? I know the answer to kind of.
Yeah, I do. I would love to show you one of my projects I just finished, if that's okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you're grabbing it. So Marie, do you stitch?
No, I came into this industry as the illustrator. So I'm gradually learning how to stitch. Of course, I do the basics, but Mullen has really taken it, from a whole new level for us too. She's learning all these stitches, and I'm so excited to see what she's doing.
Well,
I grew up in the southern part of Sweden, where there are lots and lots of castles, and so not only colors is my passion, but also that tapestry feel. So I'm gravitating towards wool. And if it was up to me, I would do a lot on 10 mesh, but 10 mesh is just not, something people do. So.
Right. Well, hard to get the detail of your beautiful work on that too, I would say.
Yeah,
right?
well, I feel like if anybody could do it, though, it would be Marie Barber. She would be able to somehow put a lot of detail on a 10 mesh project.
It might have to be 10 feet by 10 feet.
Right. But so when Will was deployed, of course, we had been around the needlepoint industry, obviously, for a while, but I had never found it, I just never picked it up as my own personal hobby. But when he deployed, it just became so important to keep your mind and your hands busy, and to just kind of help eat up time and stuff like that. So that is actually how I started needle pointing for myself as a hobby. And then it has just carried on since then, and I totally enjoy it. But for Christmas, I made a little post about it on our Instagram. For Christmas, one of my, if not my favorite Christmas present from this past Christmas was that Mom had painted me like maybe 7 canvases that are just of designs that are so important to me. And so one of them is Agatha Christie's Belgium detective Poirot, Hercule Poirot. So I just finished stitching this Colors of Praise. It's not Colors of Praise. This Marie Barber one and only canvas for her daughter, Poirot. And you can see even my needle minder is Agatha Christie Poirot, and it's like Murder on the Orient Express or whatever it may be. But anyway, yeah, so I just finished this one. I believe I'm going to turn it into a little ornament just because he's very special to me. Threads are my own, stitches are my own, mistakes are my own. So
and work in the well. A lot of people, most people don't work in the well. So this is totally a sideline question, because people ask me this all the time, because I think I'd say like 95%. This is my own guess. I've thrown out a guess. I don't have any actual factual information, but from being a shop owner, 95% of the people work on top of their bars, and you're working in the well. So how?
Yeah. So I usually swap it out, but I saw this advice or tidbit that somebody had posted somewhere, and it said that if you put it on the bottom part, when you stick it in your bag, it's not like it has this kind of, it's on the inside. So it's protecting it slightly from being so exposed to rubbing against stuff. And also while you're stitching, it's not catching on the nails because everything is underneath. So it's more like concentrated inside. And I was like, oh, well, that's kind of a neat thing. And I tried it and I really liked it. So I go back and forth, but I think predominantly now, if I'm stitching a little ornament like that, I do actually stick it on the bottom part, because I was getting kind of tired of it catching nails, if I'm being honest. And now I don't have that, run into that problem at all. So anyway, just kind of a little different.
Like why do you do it one way versus the other? And so I was just curious.
Absolutely. I'm happy to share.
My in-store customers have the benefit of us using a staple gun to attach their canvases
Oh,
to their
okay.
frame.
Yeah.
So you don't have that tack issue.
Cool.
And people of course can use their own staple gun at home, but it's always nice to have someone do it for you, right? So we
Yeah,
do.
yeah. No, I definitely wouldn't have thought of a staple gun. I wouldn't have thought about that. So it's just, I feel like there's so many different little tricks of the trade.
For sure.
And I am still learning. Like, I still call myself an amateur, but mom is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you know all these stitches. I'm like, like
That's
YouTube and different little videos on Instagram, because I'm on there like promoting Colors of Praise. And then after I post a post about Colors of Praise, I'm like, okay, so what else is going on in the world? Like what can I learn? But I definitely totally enjoy it. And I'll say I have not learned, like, if there's two things I would like to learn more about, one would be beading, because I did beading for my first project, which was one of our cuff bracelets, which the wool and the floss finished for me. Thank you very much, Melissa. But I did the beading, but I was at a store when I did the beading, so they were able to walk me through it. And since then, of course, that was years ago, so now I don't remember. But I would love to know more about beading. And then I would also, because I guess being in this industry and selling the canvases, I see the canvas all the time. So I don't know anything about open stitches, because I'm like, why would you want to see the canvas after like while you're stitching it? But then I've seen pieces where being able to see the canvas in the background allowed for the shadings to show up better. It allowed for more of a 3D effect. It allowed things to pop off in different ways. So I would love to be able to know more about different open stitches also. So you know what I mean? Anyway, still
the big wide world, the big wide world for sure.
Right.
So, and just, I'm going to backtrack to you for a second, Marie. So you did all that work in the cross stitch industry. Did you ever cross stitch back then?
Little bit, but not very much. I was consumed with the creating the patterns and and painting and all that. That's what that's what I love to do. I did some. I ventured in just a little bit, but
well, there are a lot of designers that don't stitch, and for those of us who stitch, it's kind of mind blowing that someone can create this beautiful platform for us to be our stress relief and to create something beautiful. And it's just amazing to me how many designers don't stitch, but yet can think like a stitcher, because obviously you're thinking about your art on a grid, otherwise it wouldn't work. So
I've always tried to really listen to the store owners and stitchers and try to pick up little bits in here, and and just listening to them and watching them to see what they're wanting, and then realize that they enjoy the fibers and the textures and them creating their own with different different type of stitches. And so not only doing a lot of things illustrated, but leaving room for sorry, for anybody to kind of apply their own fibers and stitches and stuff. Now, when as a child, I was kind of thinking about that earlier today. As a child, I love to get the math grid paper that people kind of do their math, the grid paper, and I had that as a kid too, and I love to color in the squares to create things. To not just paint, but just looking back at it, I'm like, I enjoy doing this square thing, even as a 7-8-year-old. I'm like, little did I know I was going to really use it later on in life. And another thing too, when I was in school, we had to take English since 3rd grade, and then from 7th grade we had to apply the 3rd language, and I took French, but don't ask me anything in French. I can't remember, but even learning English all these years, I was the student, like, I just want to be an artist. I don't need English. I'm never going to use English. Well, here I am. So
that's great. I would love to hear too where you get the inspirations for your like vast number of designs? Like what inspires you? Where do you, when your daughter, I heard a little story at market, when your daughter gives you 2.5 days to come up with 8 or 9 new designs for
Well,
market, 12,
12.
sorry. Like how does that happen?
Well, the shows prior, I usually allow myself like 4 to 6 weeks. And for 6 weeks, if I have 6 weeks, I usually can come up with about 200 to 250 new designs. And but when I do, I get into my zone, and I love, because I don't want, as an artist, I don't want to be disrupted. And I have a wonderful husband that loves to cook. So he's pretty much just takes care of all that. He's just, all right, honey, supper is ready. But he lets me be, because, what I do is I have references from, if it could be a Elle Decor magazine, to keep up with the trends of what's going on, colors and patterns and things, or I have other things that I look up, it could be tapestry fabrics, or it's just a variety of things. And I print them out, or I tear pages out, or I have fabrics laying around and I just spread them all over tables, floor. I usually sit on the floor and I just have everything. It looks like a total chaotic mess, and it is. But then I glance because I want to be able to see everything at one time. And then it could be just a tiny little piece on a page that nobody else going to pay attention to. And I see it and I look at the color combination and it appeals to me. Or I see a tiny little piece of a design or pattern somewhere that somebody's wearing in a picture that nobody else going to pay attention to, but I do. And then I try to combine it, and I go from there, and then I get a basic figure of something, and then I decide to, okay, I'm going to add patterns to this. I'm going to add clothing, hats, feathers, beads. I mean, I just kind of go from there. So I'm all over the place. And the hardest part for me is narrow it down or stopping at some point, because even Malin, she said, Mom, it's okay. You can stop right now. You don't have to add anything else. But
Yeah.
so I could just go in all kinds of directions, and I could easily just sit down. If somebody give me 6 months, I probably could do like, all right, let's do 6,000 new designs,
That's such a gift. Do you design on canvas, like on needlepoint canvas directly, or do you design on paper first and then transition? How does that work?
I do. I enjoy doing it right on top of the mesh canvas.
Okay.
It gives me the layout. I decide to do, okay, am I going to do a hip belt, or if I'm going to do a strap, if I'm going to do what I'm doing 16 by 16 pillow, I'm going to do a 5 by 5 or something like that. I kind of narrow it down, because I have to narrow it down to myself or I'll be all over the place.
Yeah.
So I probably would have been diagnosed with ADHD or whatever later, early in life. But so I narrow it down for me, and then I decide color schemes a little bit. And then I just get it, start just diving in immediately. Now, when I start first, I say if I have 4 weeks and I start designing new designs, on day maybe 1, 2, or 3, before I really get going, there could be a few pieces that I just get stuck on, and I'm not happy with it at all. And I usually just either put them to the side or I throw them in the trash. So
that's the editing process that we all have to do, whatever our wheelhouse is, for sure, for sure. And Malin, I know that you are more managing the line and the website and all that sort of thing. So tell us about like the different segments of Marie's line, and do you try to, I hate to say the word manipulate that, but do you say like, Mom, there's holes here, you need to fill this out? Like, how does all that work?
So, well, when I started working for Mom, I say officially, or like, whenever we were going through the process of, okay, well, whatever, she did not have Facebook, she didn't have Instagram, she didn't have an updated website at all. The pictures were very old, you know what I mean? Like, and because she's a computer illiterate, like technology is not her world. And I'll be honest with you, even for my age, technology is not necessarily my world. So like this is my first time setting up Zoom on my computer because I haven't needed it, you know? So I mean, like it's funny, but anyway, so I really had to dive into definitely starting her on Instagram, which has paid off like tenfold, right? But the computer was more of a, okay, the website, I had to really go in and kind of gut a little bit because you know, and I know it's not necessarily perfect. I don't think it'll ever be perfect. I don't think that website will ever be fully up to date just because, you know, things are constantly changing and everything like that. But I feel like it has come a long way since. As you know, like our animal category is huge. So I finally went in there and was like, okay, people want to see like our felines. So let's break up the animals into categories, like felines here, the grass feeders, you know, like, you know, camels, cows, you know, zebras, whatever. Let's put them here. Let's put monkeys and bears here, you know, and whatever, just kind of trying to break things up. We have so many different small designs. And now like our line is so huge on top of not being able to order from the painting service like we used to be able to do, you know, due to quotas and things being set up. So now I tell mom, like, I'm sorry that I can't give you that 4 to 6 weeks like we used to be able to do, but you know, back orders accumulate so quickly. We're very fortunate that mom paints so much to allow us to keep that back orders down. And then on top of that, like I would rather, and it's what I've had to tell her, I would rather there be 12 quality canvases that we can present instead of 100, because then I still have to, on top of the line that we already have, that's so big, keeping things in stock for that, I have to keep 100 more canvases in stock, and it would just be
A lot to manage.
it's already overwhelming, I'm not gonna lie. But it would be extremely difficult. And I know it's frustrating when, I mean, you guys don't want to have to wait 4 to 6 months. Like the stitchers don't want to have to wait 4 to 6 months for a canvas. And we don't want you to have to wait that long.
Right, right.
So that's why I told mom, I'm like, I know you could design designs like crazy, but for my own sanity, we have got to, you know, we got to do it a little bit at a time so we can stay on top of things and try our best to keep the wait times down, backlogs down, different things like that. But yeah, so it does help too, because I get feedback from, or like, I have all the inventory with me. I take all of the orders. I do the purchase orders. I do everything like that. So I can kind of see, hey mom, like hip belts and the purse straps are selling like crazy and I can't keep them in stock at all. So, you know, what if we added a few more patterns, you know, new patterns to that? Or, you know, our 4-inch rounds are doing better than our 3-inch rounds. So maybe we add more to that collection. Or, you know, our clutches are great. They're a great size. They can be clutch bags, they can be pillows, they can be anything. And they're not necessarily this humongous project. So like, so, you know, we've had like 8 new clutches get added to our line. So it's fun. And it's, you know, I still want her to be able to have that free range of being an artist, but I was joking around with Will. I was like, I can tell when mom's an artist, like that she's an artist, because I have to be the one that's like, okay, mom, like, I know you want to do this and I know we want to keep designing all these designs, but like, I know like that's not going to work, or that's just not going to benefit Colors of Praise like we, you know, we really want it to, or, you know, or we can do that, but it just needs to be like a custom order instead of a full line, you know, or something like that. But I was telling him, I was like, I have to tell her, okay, mom, here's a list of canvases I need this week in order to like keep backlogs down. Like, and so she'll paint everything, ship it to me on Monday. I get it on Tuesday and send it out. And then, you know, so it's, we've come up with a system, and I'm thankful that she has always made me feel like a partner, and it doesn't feel like boss and employee. It feels very much like teamwork, partnership. She couldn't do it without me. I could not do it without her, obviously. So, you know, I'm very thankful also just that we have the work relationship that we have, because I really feel like it's working well. And we have a good groove, and we're still working on filling back orders from the new designs that were ordered in Atlanta. I did get one shipment in, so I'm sending those out. I'm going to pick up more this weekend when I go down for
Hoping to hear that.
yeah. But anyway, but it's I'm like, okay, we got to get these done because back orders are accumulating so fast. I know people want their letters, and the 12-inch letters are like all painted to order. So we're trying. If you're out there listening to us, we are trying. Bear with us, okay?
I can tell you as a shop owner, your efforts are paying off, because and I don't want to sound disparaging at all, because I think everyone in this industry is working really, really hard. But you seem to have gotten the balance pretty darn right. So good job.
Thank you. That's so encouraging to hear, because I don't want anybody to think that we just, we know this already, or whatever. Like any positive encouragement, positive reinforcement, or positive just words of encouragement are always so appreciated, because you never know when maybe me, like, I don't know, maybe mom's having a really hard day of just being very overwhelmed, and I'll be like, Mom, so-and-so just called to tell you that, they love your designs, and they're working on one of your projects right now, and this, that, and the other. And you just never know when that is like, oh, okay, yeah, all right, let's tackle it. Let's just keep going. And you just never know when positive words, and this is like in life too. This doesn't just have to be needlepoint related, but like, if you have the opportunity to be kind and encouraging to someone, do it. Don't ever think that your words are going to fall on unappreciative ears, because that might just be what somebody needs to really be uplifted that day, so.
I love it. Well, Marie, what were your first designs, and are they still in your line? Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Mullen. I think maybe could half of them be?
I'm not really sure. But a good many of them are still in the line, or are still available to be painted for the most part. But I'm starting to see now that, like, more where older designs I'm bringing back, or like, we're sending the color copies back in and bringing back, because it's either been so long that it's like a new design, especially to some people that haven't been around since 2009, 2010. So that's like a new design, and it helps kind of refresh it a little bit. And I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, like it's funny that you mentioned it, because that's kind of what we've been teetering on a little bit, is bringing back some older designs that we feel like need to be shown, or we just haven't carried in stock for whatever reason. But yeah, like I can think of a few, especially in the floral category.
I bet. Good. And then can either one of you, I always find this really interesting, tell us what your best seller is, or your worst seller that you don't understand why doesn't sell, or if you have some personal favorites.
This one's always tough, because I will say right now, one of our best sellers, I feel like, is our purse strap line. But it doesn't mean that every store sells purse straps. Does that make sense? Like, it's like, I have a handful or a group of stores that I know they order them like crazy. They can't keep them in stock. I can't keep them in stock. Like, so we used to be able to order things 6 at a time. Now I'm ordering them 12 and 15 at a time, because it's just, by the time we are desperate to get it in, I've already got stuff on back orders and whatever. So I'll say our hip belt purse straps are definitely really, really popular. I'm trying to think.
My old owner used to go to market when I went with her. So I've been the owner for 5 years. So probably for like 4 years before that. And she always, I don't know if you guys remember this, or if Marie would remember this, but Jean always came to market on one of the days wearing your hip belt.
Colors of Praise belt. I love it though. I love it. And there was a lady at market in Atlanta. She came by and she was wearing one of our hip belts. Like, it's just so fun, But yeah, so I'll say hip belts, and then, but like for the wool and the floss, if you ask me, oh, what is our favorite designs? I'd be like, oh, you love the little stuff. You're like an inserts gal. Like you love what you can put in the Betsy boxes, that you can put in the inserts, like the Planet Earth bags, the luggage tags, like wallets. You're like, show me these things. And I'm like, I got you. Let's do this, or eyeglass cases. But then I have other stores where it's like, I need your hip belts like 5 weeks ago. I need them. And I'm like, okay. But honestly, and it's a no-brainer from here, are 12-inch floral letters on 13 mesh. Bestseller. And what's funny, there's a story behind it. Prior to me working for Mom, it was not a new design at all. And you sold how many, Mom?
Two.
You sold 2, and they were not new designs. It was something that was hanging in my college room when I was at college. And I was like, okay, I'm moving. Like, do you want this? And she's like, yeah, I'll take it. And it was a big M. And it had like some kind of rustic flower pattern on it, which Mom is not a rustic girl, even living in Alabama. And so she was like, oh, this would be kind of fun, just to like do big letters like this and then do a design on the inside. So that's how that came to be. But she never sold any. And so finally, when I started Colors of Craze, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, I think I put a post on Needlepoint Nation on Facebook and just said, hey, like, here's these 12-inch letters. They're on 13 mesh and they're painted to order, and they can be on any letter that you want and whatever. Since then, we have probably sold thousands, hundreds. Like hundreds for sure, but I would definitely say we're in the thousands, which is a blessing, because those letters being painted by Mom, that allowed us to have money for inventory to grow the company. You know what I mean? And to like be able to put it back into Colors of Craze, and she worked like crazy. I actually painted some of the letters. Like I would get her started painting the letters, and then she would grab them and finish painting them. Like it was all hands on deck for sure. But yeah, so naturally our 12-inch and 6-inch letters, extremely popular, probably the best seller. So there's that. Worst sellers. It's funny. I think one of our worst sellers was this idea that Mom had to do purse borders. I'll say them. It was like 5 different designs, and it was just 2 panels of a design. And that was meant to be the wraparound portion of a bag, and then you would put whatever fabric you wanted for the bag. But a lot of people, especially when I sent them out on Trunk Show, it never failed. Like once a month, somebody would call me, what is these PBs? Like, what are they? Like, oh, they're purse borders. And they were like not popular at all until there's a store, and I think Pennsylvania. Oh, I'm so sorry. But there's a store, and they started promoting them because they stitched one and put it with this fringe leather bag. And all of a sudden they were like, can you send me these, like all that you have in stock or whatever? I'm like, yeah, go get them, and they have done amazing things with them, because I love that they took Mom's vision and stitched it, created it, and then promoted it for other people to see this vision. And so, now I've about sold out of them. So it's like, they were not popular for a very long time until somebody brought the vision to life. So I'm very thankful for that. But yeah, so that was probably definitely was like not one of our best designs, or like group of designs for a while. And then my personal favorite, of course, I love our 11 by 11 ladies on 18 mesh. It's like 6 of them, and now we added 2 more, and it's like one on turquoise with like red hair, one on the purple background with the black hair, and they're 18 mesh, so like very detailed feathers, beadings, tons of different patterns. Like I really love them. I feel like they all look really beautiful together. And then I love all of our new 4-inch rounds, and then this past market, I love almost all of the new clutches and the dinosaur skull, the dinosaur skull and the dinosaur stuff. As you can see, big dinosaur girl right here. Anyway, so yeah, that's just a little grouping of my favorites.
And do you have any favorites, Marie? Or is that like picking a favorite child for you?
No. I do have probably several, but one that keeps popping in my mind is AN152, I think. It's the vintage tiger,
Oh yeah.
the long one on 13 mesh.
Yes.
I am, in my heart, I'm very vintage and very boho, really. And so
Vintage
I
and
love,
rustic are not the same.
yeah, no, well, I love that look, and I think it's still colors, but I don't know, it's a little boho to me, and I think that's why I kind of apply the colors and the patterns on the background of the tiger.
Sure.
Gonna have to look that up. Maybe we'll put that as part of our promo for this podcast, so people can see what we're talking about, because
Well,
that,
I don't have any in stock currently, but I am expecting a shipment to come in by the end of the month. So yeah,
Exciting.
not bad.
Good. And I know that when I was at market, I was thinking it was 9, and so I apologize. Your 12 new designs. Is there anything else coming up the pike that's exciting and different that you want to share with us?
Well, we had gotten a few ideas at market of some new things we know people would enjoy seeing in October in Dallas or in, Frisco. So I think we're going to come out with more new designs of our straps. It might be a little bit of a different size or length, but we think that would be something, since the straps have been really popular, just to come out with some new patterns, so to speak. Mom.
Yeah, I definitely want to come out with a big collection of the straps with a variety of patterns and looks.
Mhm.
So some I'm even going to try to, I don't want to say be more illustrated, but I want to apply things and items on there. If it is animals or faces or something like that. I'm not, like the way I do faces or whatever, but also patterns and other things that inspires me. Not necessarily the same look as the hip belts, but
Yeah, just
a variety of new looks, so that
something
it will
fresh.
appeal to a lot of people. And I did get a lot of requests of traditional florals that I used to do years ago. And I think I need to get back to that a little bit too, because I kind of left that for a little while there.
Right.
And so I probably will do a good amount of those. And yeah, I'm sure there are going to be some other things. I had some big plans that I really wanted to do, and we shall see. We shall see.
Yeah,
My
I'm
mind is
trying to
always ticking. So I would love to, each trade show, I would like to come out with a really large statement piece that will not be available in mass quantity. It will be very, very limited.
I like it.
So if it is a tapestry or for a large chair or for a large ottoman, but I would like to do that for each show, but then have a limit on it, so it won't be a mass production.
That's very, very smart. Quick question. You both keep talking about purse straps. To you, is that different from your narrow belts?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure if they
The
were
regular belts, I mean, it's just your regular belt. Like, this is what you're going to stitch, and you're going to wear it on your hips. And I mean, now some people have used them for like a phone case strap, or like different things. Obviously it's needlepoint. Just because it's called regular belt doesn't mean it has to be that. But traditionally, if you buy a regular belt, most of the time you do stitch it as a belt. But with our hip belts, they're like 47 inches long, right? And then so they're very wide, or I think maybe 3 inches wide or something to that effect. But what people have told us at market is that they can stitch a strap, and if it's too narrow, it starts to kind of hurt their shoulder blades on their back. But they were saying because of the width of ours, it just it doesn't cut in anywhere. And so I don't know, it's up to Mom if she wants to do different dimensions than what our other hip belts have been. But for the most part, what I've heard is people really enjoy them and can make them shorter, or they're plenty long to do over the hips or across the shoulders, or you know what I mean.
So right now you have the hip belt and you have a regular belt. And so when you're talking about purse straps, it's really reusing.
It's really the hip belts that people are turning into purse straps. So
Okay.
that's why I have to put it on there, because there's still HB for hip belts, but I don't see, there's not a whole lot of people anymore, I think, that are buying them for their hips. They're more buying them for their shoulders. So
Well, and I was trying to say, when my old owner used to wear her hip belt, and she wore it as a hip belt, and she'd wear this fabulous, just like white blouse, crisp, but
Right.
she's like this big. I mean,
Yeah.
so it looked fabulous on her. But any of us normal size people, like, the size 10s, those hip belts are a little tough, but I love them as a purse strap idea. So that's great.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's how I feel too. There's one that I really like, and it's on my to-do list of stitching from our line, and it is HB 752. And it's not that it's not one of our necessarily best sellers, but it's got a great animal print in it next to like this beautiful green pattern. It just has more earthy tones in it, and I love it. So that is the one that it's on my to-do list. But I do like it, and I don't know, I guess I'll just have to find a bag for it once I stitch it, but I do like the design. So,
And I've stitched a number of your regular belts because you always have such great patterns, and I go and I find a handmade belt buckle that's usually kind of a statement piece, and then I will find one of your belts that goes with it. So it's worked out well.
Very nice.
Anyway, yeah, one of my favorite things. Okay, well, if we missed anything you guys want to cover that we haven't talked about?
I personally really like that. Is that a white wicker basket behind you hanging on the wall?
It's a rattan purse that the 4-inch rounds look beautiful on.
Yeah, you might have to send me a picture of that here in a minute. I love that. That'd be great for summer. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. As far as I know, just we so appreciate you taking the time out of your morning to want to have us on your show. I mean, that in itself is really, really awesome. And we're very thankful for the opportunity just to get to hang out with you this morning.
Always fun to talk needlepoint, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. Like, I know maybe the men folk don't always get it. Some of them do, but not always. But it's
some
so
of my
much
best
fun.
teachers are men, so don't categorize.
No, exactly. So, but I love that. It's definitely an industry that people, I don't like when I tell people, especially my age or whatever, they're like, "What do you do for a living?" I have a wholesale needlepoint company. What? I'm like, yeah, and they're like, and you bought a house and you live in Nashville and whatever. It's like, yeah, it's doing good. Like we're doing great. We're very blessed. And they're like, are you sure you're not starving? Like, are you confused? No, we're doing great. So it's funny that especially people my age don't know necessarily a lot about the needlepoint industry. But I'm starting to show them, like my new sister-in-law, she has started stitching her first needlepoint project. It's one of our eyeglass cases, and she loves it. She's already looking for her next project, and she's like, is this okay that I'm looking for my next project while I'm still stitching? I'm like, yeah, people have a stash. Like my stash is like 25 canvases, and I know some people's stashes are like 100 canvases or more, and that's okay. But I love this industry, and I'm so thankful for the opportunity to try to get to promote it more, because I think it would benefit so many people if they just knew about it, So
stress relief alone is mind saving for sure.
Yeah.
Sure. My daughter just started stitching, my college daughter, who was always a little bit too cool for school, as they say. And now it's getting to the point. I said to her, I was with her in Florida for a few days, and she said, well, I've got another friend that wants you to send her a needlepoint project. I'm like, okay, Al, it's getting to the point where it's kind of expensive now. Like I keep sending another friend a whole kit of a canvas and threads and bars. And
yeah, we need to, I believe me, I know. I think I pulled one of our cuff bracelets that I think we're going to turn into a key fob. And that was me and Will's gift to his mom.
Oh, nice.
And so because she's always so interested in colors of praise, but I think more from the business side of it than the stitching side of it. But she was sitting there stitching, and we all stitched together. And that's how Emily, my sister-in-law, she was like, I love this. This is so awesome. And so Emily was sitting there wanting to stitch on it and everything. And so she was like, she went to her local needlepoint store, got her threads, got everything she needed, and she has loved it. She's almost finished with it. And of course, like, and I tell her all the time, whatever mistakes you make, they're yours. Like, this is how you learn. This is how you keep becoming better. And she's been like looking up little tips and tricks as well. And she loves it. And now even Mary, she has still been stitching on her bracelet or key fob. And so
Good.
I'm very excited, but I'm like, yeah, if anybody wants to stitch, hey, I'm wholesale. You have to go to your local needlepoint store, because I know what you're saying. It can be very expensive. But we're trying our best to be as affordable of a hobby as you can be, but it's cheaper than therapy, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I can't thank you both enough for spending your morning with us. And it's been so fun to learn more about both of you. And I just appreciate everything you both are doing. If anyone's joining the podcast for the first time, please do us a favor and hit subscribe, because that helps other stitchers find us so they can learn more about what we do and the background of all the fabulous people in our industry. I think it's super fun. So I appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Melissa.
Thank you.
Okay, good to see you both. Take care.
All right. See ya. Bye.